cherry slab pie. This is a homemade crust with a wonderful sweet dark cherry filling on the inside. It's great because it feeds a lot of people, but it is on a rectangular pan, which brings me back to what is pie? How does the equation for pie work in a situation where it is not spherical? Life can be a struggle, but a good meal doesn't have to be. We can make creative, nutritious, and inventive dishes that won't break the bank. We'll eat well and save money, because that's what we do. Welcome to Struggle Meals. I do know that we're gonna start with a nice homemade crust, and that means using precision measurements. If we just scoop in with our measuring cup here, we're gonna get a different density of flour. We must, with a spoon, very slowly and antiquatedly, bring it to the cup measure, one at a time like this. Look at me. I'm measuring things. We got some sugar here, and we're coming in with some salt. Mix it around a little. The secret to a flaky crust is getting that butter into the flour in a manner where the butter still stays cold so that there's pockets of butter. Cold butter in cubes. And now, as quickly as possible, because our hands have heat in them and it is gonna melt the butter, we just have to sort of like make sand. So we're just gonna break this apart a little bit in here. The butter's starting to stick to my hands. We're gonna have to go straight to steel. So I'm hoping the tines of our struggle whisks will allow the butter to push through the flour in a sandy manner. Now we've gotta add ice cold water. It's gotta be ice cold so that the butter stays in its semi-solid state, because that's how we're gonna get the flakiness, remember? Just a little bit like this, nice and cold. It's crumbly looking, and that's good. Look at our texture now. So I made my dough a little bit too wet, and the way to save yourself here is not to like overwork it, right? Try your very best to get a little extra flour in there after the fact. So now I'll split this into two. You wanna touch this as little as possible, right? These are wrapped up nice and tight so they won't dry out. Now we're gonna go into the fridge for a couple of hours. We're gonna make the filling for our pie right now. Cherries are fantastic when they're in season. They're also fantastic when they're frozen because they were picked when they were perfectly in season and someone else already pitted them for you. We're just gonna dump it right in. Desire. We're gonna add sugar, and they can take a lot. So we'll mix it around. The wetness of the cherries is gonna absorb the sugar. You can see right away liquid being released from our cherries. Let's get even more out of it by adding some salt. We can get some lemon in there. We're going with almond extract. Almond extract goes really well with cherries, and it's traditional in a cherry pie. But of course, you could use vanilla extract if that's all you've got. A whole bunch of liquid is being released now. We've got cornstarch here. So now we'll mix this around. Cornstarch is nice and mixed in there. That's gonna thicken once we bake this off, and it's gonna make the filling nice and thick. Let's make some pie. We got our pie fillings. So I've got my bottom piece. We're gonna make lattice with the top piece. We're gonna put a little flour on the counter. I've got a rolling pin up here. I've been saving this bottle of Chianti Classico for the perfect date night, or for the perfect pie to roll out. We're gonna try to get this out to the size of the pan. Work from the center out. Just keep rotating. Make sure you've got flour so nothing sticks. Here's a fun little tip so nothing breaks. You just roll that dough right over your wine bottle like that, and then you come up and over. This is good because we've got some pieces that are just a little bit too big here, and we can just take a butter knife, cut them, and then add them. Let's get the filling in there. All right, filling is in. Just move those cherries around so that we don't have any clumps. Remember, it's gonna thicken because of the cornstarch as it bakes off. And let's move this guy over and let's start making some lattice. Get a little more flour right on top of this guy. 1, 3, 6. I'm just trying to get even pieces here. I've got a hack to make the lattice happen a little faster because normally they have to weave over and under and up and over, and you gotta pull tabs back and put them across and put other ones. We're not gonna do any of that, and no one's gonna know. So I'm gonna take a long strip and I'm gonna go corner to corner like that. Just gonna take another one, we'll come to there and tear off the excess. So we're just gonna start going in the opposite direction. We'll go like this right here. 1, 3. Great. So I'm just trying to schmibble these dibbles together, but we're not done yet. We're gonna put an egg wash on it. I want this to be as thin a layer as possible on our lattice. Coming in with the egg wash brush 4200. Just be gentle here. We don't want to push down too much on this. And now the gibbles between. We've got our egg wash. It's gonna make this shiny, glossy, and fantastic, but it's also something that's wet. And anything that's wet acts like a glue. So let's put some nice coarse sugar right on top. I have to say, this is pretty soothing. This is going into the oven for 45 to 50 minutes. Looks fantastic. Glossy sheen. Ooh, the moisture and the heat coming up. Let's dig into it. No, we have to wait for it to cool first. The pie looks really great. It smells wonderful. It's cooled down, which is super important because that sets the center. And that means when we cut into it, we're gonna have a defined quadrant of pie. Quadrant, because this is not circular. I'm going in. Yes! We've got like a laser precision cut on here, but it feels like it's missing something, like ice cream. Perfectly convenient. Look at that right there. Plop. It's $1.59 a serving. I've got to say, it's a pretty healthy portion size too. So you're really getting your fill of pie, which has pie filling in it. Talk about meta, man. Let's dig into it and see how it tastes. I'm going on the corner. Definitely getting some vanilla ice cream because it is my pride and joy. Very tasty. Flaky, wonderful crust. You can see how the cherries are staying together. I mean, I love the slab pie, held together really beautifully with the structural flakiness of our pie crust. We kept that butter cool. That's the key. And the filling, delicious. Light and bright because of the lemon and the almond. Cherry flavor for days. It's hip to be square.